Welcome to One Tired Teacher, Episode 46, How to Make Social and Emotional Learning a Priority in the Classroom. Today's episode is a continuation of our conversation about behavior and classroom management and all those things that we are talking about building a community. And we've been talking about this for several weeks now, and I thought that it would be really important to include this episode in the mix because I think this is another proactive way of looking at behavior and like helping you with the rapport building in your classroom and making those connections and kind of understanding where kids are coming from. I know it's a hard road when you are dealing with heavy behavior issues in your classroom, and I know that it can be extremely frustrating, and you can often feel really unsupported by administration and by the people that are supposed to, be helping in that situation. And sometimes there's some truth to that. And sometimes it's things that we ourselves as teachers can do in our classroom because ultimately we are the manager of our classroom, and we have to figure out how we're going to be able to reach the kids for long-term solutions rather than some short quick fixes of getting them out of our room, which is very easy to want to happen, especially when we're in the heat of the moment and we've got other children to think about and consider, and it's rough. But I think that it's important for us to remember that we've got to figure it out for the long term, especially when we're in the beginning of the year and we've got a long way ahead of us. I feel really strongly about social emotional learning and the benefits to paying attention to this aspect of a child. And even though we may feel like we don't have the time and maybe not even the energy sometimes to really focus on these kinds of things like, talking about core values and talking about building rapport and team building and class building, and maybe we don't feel like we have the time, but it's essential. It just is essential, especially if you want a classroom that is free of behavior issues. So I spoke to a teacher turned teacherpreneur, Mary Ann from Brighter Day Classroom. I spoke to her a couple of months ago. It was before I had even jumped back into the school system. And I was holding on to this episode, knowing that I was going to have just the right place for it eventually. It wasn't there yet, and I love this episode. I adore Mary Ann. I think she is so endearing, and I know that you're going to feel the same way, and she feels passionately about this topic. So I hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey, so I just realized as I was looking back at the introduction to this episode that I did not have my microphone plugged in. So that sounded a little echoey. There's some reverb in the beginning, so I apologize for that. And now I've got it set up and ready to go. And yes, it would be very easy for me to go ahead and record that again or edit that in some way. But I decided, I was really feeling it in the moment, and sometimes you can't replicate that. So I hope that for those first 3 minutes, you were thinking, I hope this gets better. And it does. So, there's always a little bit of a sound issue when you're doing an interview from a distance. And we were literally like worlds apart in this particular interview. So there's going to be moments where you hear that, but hopefully the part, like my conversation, my part, I had my microphone plugged in the whole time, so it should be okay. All right, let's get to it. I'm very excited to have Mary Ann from Brighter Day Classroom here to talk about the importance and the value of social emotional learning and all of that, those aspects in the classroom and how important they are. So Mary Ann, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for accepting. So I know that this is such an important topic, but before we get started with that, I'd love for you to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and like your journey and education and how you started your store and things like that.
So I am Portuguese, and I always loved languages, foreign languages. So I went to college and studied English and German, and became a teacher, an English and German teacher as a foreign language. Immediately after I finished college, I started working, and I gained experience as a teacher, teaching children and teenagers as well. So I would say between ages 6 and 16, I would say.
Wow.
Yes, and I worked as a teacher for 15 years. It was something that I absolutely loved doing. I love the contact with the children. You can learn so much from them. I'm sure you you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yes.
I didn't know who was learning more from whom.
That's true.
So I really love that. And one of the things that I loved the most was to make each lesson fun and interactive as much as I could. So there was always this school book that we had to follow to a certain extent. But it was always for me a priority to find other materials, to find other strategies, to find or to create, to develop materials that would work better in that classroom with that child.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, well, there were not. Each lesson was always different from the next one. Even if you were teaching the same thing, it would always be different. And this side of the teaching process was something that was a lot of fun to me, and that fascinated me all the time. On the other hand, if you are paying attention to how children react to your signals, to the stimuli, to the different activities, you can learn a lot about them. And
absolutely.
And it's not only about how to teach English or math or I don't know, social studies, but it is about that, but not only about that. So there is this emotional side of teaching that I find absolutely essential to cover. And
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And I love what you were saying about how you would have your lessons or your book, the book that you were supposed to use, and you wanted to go above and beyond that. And you felt like it, wasn't doing some of those engaging, interactive activities. And so you were supplementing, which I think so many teachers do. We do that when we have material that we know is not like 100% the best. And so we're always trying to figure out what can I do to make this more engaging, more hands-on, or more like just mean something for our kids, because they're each different. You're right. So every time we do a lesson, no matter if it's the same content or not, it's always going to be different because it's a different group of children. It's a different response from kids. Exactly. And I think that sometimes I feel like textbook creators and even politicians and so forth, they tend to forget how we have to take those things into consideration, the children's responses and where they are and their background and their history and all the things that they come to school with. And so that's why I was so fascinated to talk to you about this social and emotional aspect of learning, because I think it often gets pushed aside when all we do is focus on the standardized way of doing something. And we miss such a vital part of who the children are and even who the teachers are, because we all have a different way of doing something as well. So I love that. So is that kind of what drew you to Teachers Pay Teachers?
Yes, partly. So I moved. So I was telling you that I am Portuguese, and I studied and worked as a teacher in Portugal. And a few years, 15 years later, I moved to Germany. Initially, it was something that should be a lot. I thought about it about the long term, small term. I'm sorry, I'm getting nervous.
That's okay. No, it's all right. There's like the short term. I get it.
Okay, so let's try that again. So I moved to Germany, and my plan was to spend about 3 months in Germany, in Munich, and I spent those 3 months. But then I liked the city so much, and I decided to stay a bit longer. And I've been living in Munich ever since. Now the challenge was to continue working as a teacher. So that was my background. That was my experience. I had a pretty strong curriculum vitae in that regard, but it was a different country with a different educational system. So my qualifications and professional experience in the classroom were not exactly recognized here. So this was a challenge and something that I didn't expect. So I had to find other ways. To start working in a different field. Now I found out about Teachers Pay Teachers by accident, and I created my store earlier on this year, and I absolutely love the concept. I know that it is very popular in the US for a while now.
Yes.
I absolutely love the concept, and I find that a fantastic way for me to continue developing school materials, activities, thinking about strategies that can be used by someone else, by someone in someone else's classroom. So this part of the teaching process that I love so much, I'm recovering it now.
Yes,
and
love
I'm
that.
super excited with it. Yeah.
Yes, that's very exciting. So what kinds of things are you creating?
So one of the things that I've learned while I was working as a teacher was how important the importance of an emotional education. So when you want to become a math teacher or a social studies teacher, you learn how to teach those school subjects. You learn strategies to apply to your classroom, but more focused in those subjects. And very often it is forgotten that the other side of the education, or how important emotional skills are. So emotions are part of our lives. And as a teacher, when you are dealing with children, you learn that intuitively.
Yes, right.
You learn that they are very different from one another, that they respond differently to your activities, to the strategies that you use.
Yes.
And you also learn how to identify a child that there's something not okay with her. So maybe this girl has problems at home, for example, or at school. Maybe she looks very stressed, and how is she responding to this stress? So this is something that we see every day, and it is important. I find it extremely important to develop those emotional skills and social skills.
Yes. So would you recommend? I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is like being a very careful observer of children.
Yes.
And watching and paying attention to those kinds of signs of distress, like they're isolating themselves from other children, or they have a look of worry or fear, or they're crying, or like things that are obvious signs, and then sometimes things that are not so obvious. So I think being an observer of children is like a huge priority that we need to have as teachers. What are some other things that you think teachers should or could be doing to pay attention to those kinds of things?
So one of the things is to pay attention, as you are saying.
Mhm.
The other thing is to try to offer the children tools that will help them, first of all, to know how to identify those emotions.
Mhm.
This sounds like a basic thing, but it's not at
No,
all.
it's not. Sadly, no. You're right. It feels like it should be a basic thing, but I think it's getting lost in the
Exactly.
translation of the rest of the curriculum and what's going on in the classroom.
Exactly.
So, okay, so
One of,
offer the kids tools.
So teach them how to identify, how to recognize those emotions, and
Mhm.
then offer them tools so that they learn how to handle those emotions when they come along the way. So, for example, how to deal with stressful situations, what can they do when they feel angry? They are very angry because of something. What can they do? There are simple strategies that you can teach them from a very early age,
Mhm.
and that they can then develop into the future. Or
Yes. What is something that you could do if they were feeling very angry? Let's say they were feeling very angry. What's one of the strategies that you could offer the child?
I think that first of all, I think it is important to let them know that feeling angry is okay.
Mm.
So
I
there is, that's a good point. For example, feeling angry or feeling afraid, that's also a good example, I think. These are seen very often as negative emotions.
Mhm.
And they can be negative, but not necessarily.
Yes.
So instead of speaking about or of seeing them as negative and positive emotions, we can see them as basic emotions.
Yeah.
There are about 6 basic emotions. They are anger, joy, surprise, disgust, fear, and sadness. And all of them are human, so it is okay to experience them.
Yes.
I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
Imagine that you are walking down the road
Mm-hmm.
and that you see a very angry dog in the distance,
Mm-hmm.
and you are scared. You feel scared. You start to sweat. Your heart starts to beat faster. Fear, in this case, is not a negative emotion. Quite the
Yes.
contrary. It's a survival instinct.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It will help you.
Get out of the situation, away from the
Yes,
angry dog.
identify it into the situation and find out the solution. So
Yes.
if you didn't feel it, if you didn't feel fear, then maybe you would continue walking around and the dog would attack you. Who knows?
Yes. Yes.
But if you experience this, then you will think, oh God, I am scared. I am scared. There's a dog, and he might come after me. He might bite me. But it gives you this. It allows you to think, and it allows you to give an appropriate response. Like, for example, to turn around slowly and to, I don't know, cross the road.
Yes. Get away. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's really important. And I think sometimes we forget about that. Like all of these human emotions are like that's just a part of who we are. And sometimes I think I know that I mean, I would like to say that I was just perfect at being able to determine why kids were having certain responses, but I mean, clearly we're human. And so sometimes we misunderstand, and I know that I have misunderstood. That's why I'm saying that. We misunderstand the anger and we think of it as a negative emotion or an inappropriate response to something, whereas it's not necessarily inappropriate. It's just kind of misdirected, and
Yeah.
we have to figure out why they are feeling that way. And I think you're right, allowing them to know that it is okay to feel those feelings and not try to tell them that they can't be
Yes.
angry.
Exactly.
Yes, I told you that I was in the classroom for, I don't know if I said how long, but I was in the classroom for about 17 years. And then I spent a year and a half as a student support specialist, which was basically like an AP in training with my principal. I felt like his secretary, but I love him. So it wasn't like that. But my main part of my job actually was supposed to be working with children that were having a hard time, that were struggling with their behavior. I was supposed to be like a team with the school counselors. And when he left, like then my job did become more like that. It became the only part of it. But I know I learned so much that year and a half, because I worked with kids, whose teacher wanted them out of the classroom. They were misbehaving. They were throwing chairs. They were, trying to stab other children. I mean, they were extreme situations, but it was so eye-opening to me, to spending that one-on-one time, again, because it was different for me, because I wasn't in the classroom struggling with all the rest of the kids and all the things that had to be done. I was able to spend that one-on-one time with the person and get to, like, why are you feeling like that? And it's okay if you're mad. You can be, you can be mad. You can be angry. It's all right to feel like that. Like, what is why, what is making you feel that way? Like, what is causing you to feel angry? And even allowing them to speak about that was like they're like, oh, I can be mad. I'm like, mm-hmm. You can be mad.
Yes, exactly.
So, I mean, you can't, stab at someone else with scissors, but you can be angry. So what are some other things we can do because you're feeling angry? And it just was like, I don't know, it's just such an eye opener to me to see it from that perspective. And I think it's hard to do that sometimes when you're in the classroom and there's 18 or 19 other people that need something from you, and you have certain expectations that you're supposed to follow. And so I think that sometimes can be difficult, but I do think it's really important.
Yes, definitely. And there are things, well, it depends on the situations. There are more extreme situations, of course, than others. And where an appropriate response would be to have a one-on-one conversation with that people, like you were describing now, with that child. But there are other things that, for example, lately it is becoming kind of trendy to talk about mindfulness, and mindfulness for children, for example. And there are very simple activities that can be applied to the classroom in a group, to put the children together, and at the beginning of the day, for example, or at the end of the day, and do an activity like this for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. There are so many different ways of approaching it. And it is something very simple, and that can help the children learn how to apply it. Maybe it won't work with all of them. It is true, but you are teaching them how to use a tool.
Yes. I love that. So like almost like a morning meeting or even an afternoon meeting, it could be focused on spending time like learning and understanding mindfulness. So is that something that you provide in your TPT store?
Yes. So
okay, I'm going to link to that in the show notes, because I think that would be very, very helpful. I have one thing. It's a calming corner kit, and it's for specific things like that. And you do go over like certain strategies with your students so that they can understand what some options are when they're feeling like that. But I really like your idea of actually, and it does not necessarily have to be completely different curriculum, but I mean, it is a type of curriculum. So if you're spending 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's not I mean, I know that there's always things that they say to us, like, it's only this many more minutes, and you think, I can't fit another thing in. However, this is one of those things that makes me think of, like, when you don't want to stop for gas because you're too busy. And you're like, but wait a minute, I have to have gas or my car isn't going to go. This is what makes me think of that. Like, if we don't spend that 5 minutes, even though it's another 5 or 10 minutes in our day, if we don't spend that, then what is the rest of our day going to look like?
Exactly.
So I think that this is so important.
Yes, like I told you in the beginning, I'm new at Teachers Pay Teachers, and I have already developed a few materials, but I'm working on a lot more. Yes. And and one of them is exactly a bundle. A bundle of strategies, activities to use to help children how to deal with anger. There is another one, for example, how to teach them to develop empathy.
I love that. Yes.
Exactly. that I find extremely important. We live in nowadays more than ever. I don't know if I am being very pessimistic,
No,
but
I think you're right. I absolutely think you're right.
I
We are
think that
lacking empathy for sure.
I think that there is so much selfishness, and we don't want our children to become selfish. And if in an ideal world, if everybody learns how to feel empathy, we will live in the end in a kinder world.
Yes.
Where people, so children, they will become adults, respect others, understand what is, or try to understand what is happening on the other side, and they will develop a kinder attitude. And it's really the world we want to live in, isn't it?
I totally agree. It can really change everything. It can be everything. It matters really that much. No, I totally agree. I love that. And I think we need that desperately. I actually think we need that desperately. Yes. Okay. So you were working on the empathy one, or you have that developed and it's already available?
It's already developed.
Okay. So
Yes.
I'll link to all that. I'll just link to your store because it sounds like you have some very helpful products, and I can't wait to see like the more things that you develop, because I can feel like a passion around this topic and how important it is to you. And I love that, because when we feel that like enthusiasm and that passion, then it comes out in our products, and we're able to provide some help for teachers that don't have the time to do it sometimes, or are not really sure where to even start.
Yes, so it can be so rewarding. You know that because you worked as a teacher for many years. You know that when children are happy, when
they learn.
Yes, they learn. It is so much easier for them to learn. But not only that, it is easier for them to concentrate. For example, it is easier for them to interact with others, with the teachers, with other children, and so on. So this is the goal. So to have happy children, and the emotional side of the education cannot be ignored. So we do need to teach math and to teach social studies and English.
Absolutely, but we also need to teach this. It's not something that's naturally occurring, and the system that we're setting them up for, I feel like we've lost that. We've lost some of that. I mean, we're really only valuing one type of thinker, and we're saying, if you don't think this way, you don't behave this way, you don't do this, then you're wrong, bad, or stupid. I mean, that's how kids are feeling. And I think that is horrible. It's horrible. And you're right. If we're not adding these components into our teaching, if we're not explicitly teaching them how to be mindful or grateful or empathetic, I think that like, again, it's like, are you going to not be able to stop and put gas in your car? Like, it's not going to keep running. Our kids are not going to learn, and they're not going to be able to get along with other people. And those are skills that they have to have for the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
Not even just for that one moment where they're learning something in social studies. Like, they need to have these skills forever.
That's exactly how I see it. And this is complementary. So you can teach math and at the same time develop the emotional skills. It can be applied to every classroom, and it can be combined to any school subject.
Yes, I totally agree. And that was I just remembered that when I was saying that, like, an early product of mine was a gratitude journal. Like, I made this gratitude journal, and I was so excited about it. Like, I thought, this is going to be the product that makes so much difference. And it like barely sold for the longest time. And I'm like, we need to teach gratitude. And I was like, I almost felt heartbroken, because it was something that I was so proud of. I just thought it was so pretty. Like, and it had a gratitude quote for each week. And I was like, but yeah, it's gotten better, actually. It's actually sold later. I saw the benefit later, but I'm like, I don't even care about it selling. I care about the fact that practice this with your students, because the things that you see when they start like writing down or even drawing, because I had like two different versions. of things that you are grateful for. Like every day you spend a minute or 2 minutes thinking of something you're grateful for. I don't know. It just, I saw a huge difference in my kids and my students when I did that. And I don't know. That's just one example.
And it's so rewarding to see what they come up with.
I think so too.
And surprising sometimes. I don't know if you agree with it, but also from a perspective of a teacher-child relationship, you do notice a difference when you use those kind of activities. You can connect to them in a whole different level.
I totally agree. The rapport building is so amazing. You're getting to the underlying part of a child and their personality, and you make this connection with them that they don't forget. And you don't forget. Like I hold on to those memories too, and I think it makes the job so much more meaningful. I love that.
Yes.
Okay, so my listeners can find you at Brighter Day Classroom.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes,
and
thank you.
Is there any other places they can find you, like on social media or anything like that?
I'm embarrassed to say not yet. I'm working on my Pinterest.
Okay.
Soon, yes.
That's okay. Well, they will find you. They will find your store, and I know that they, as much as I can't wait to see like all the things that you create and how like this piece of like something special like trickles into the world and makes a difference, one person at a time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sticking around. I told you she's really amazing. There's just something about her that is very inspiring, very just unique and special. I can't wait to see the things that she puts out into the world and that she creates for other teachers so that we can all do just a much better job with the social emotional aspects of learning and teaching. Well, this one tired teacher is ready for a long summer's nap. I guess it's really considered fall. Actually, today when I'm editing, it's actually the first day of fall. But I live in Florida and it doesn't feel like fall. It feels like just more summer, maybe a little less humidity today and yesterday than has been in the air. So you're not like suffocating when you walk out. And there's a little bit of a breeze, but it's probably completely different where you are. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.